This is a record of a conversation held with Mr. Frank Baker of 825 East Jackson Street. Mr. Baker preferred not to have his remarks on tape, so I've tried to remember the highlights of the conversation that I had with him to enter into the record of the history of the Negro in Muncie. Mr. Baker is a retired postman with the Muncie postal system. Mr. Baker stated that he first came to Muncie in 1912 and that he was the first postman to complete his retirement requirements and retire on a pension from the Muncie Post Office. He also spoke of the Ball Brothers Company and some of the history of Muncie, in which he felt strongly of the opinion that the Ball Brothers had kept unions out of Muncie in order to keep wages low, that they had gone south to bring in bus loads and train loads of Negroes in order to keep unions and wages low in Muncie. He felt that they had done an excellent job in establishing Ball State University and Ball Hospital and some of the other philanthropic ideals, but at the same time he felt they had greatly harmed the community by keeping out some of the General Motors industries that wanted to settle here and other things. Mr. Baker also spoke of the fact that he was a reporter in Muncie for the Indianapolis Recorder, and he suggested that we attempt to run down some old Indianapolis recorders dating from 1912, at which he said that his service with the Indianapolis Recorder had to be since 1912 because that's when he came to Muncie, but he couldn't exactly remember just when he started. But he does feel that there are records of the happenings in the Muncie community, some of the violent weekends that occurred in the Negro community at that time. He specifically referred to 2 or 3 murders a week, which seems high to me, but this was his statement. Mr. Baker also spoke of the fact that Negroes lived in most sections of the Muncie community at the time he arrived, and that only in the years since the days of the Ku Klux Klan did it seem that the majority of Negroes, or practically all Negroes, were forced to live in the Whiteley industry area. These are the highlights of the conversation I had with him, and I want to put them on his tape for the record. He also suggested for resource information that we could possibly contact Miss Alice Finley, Mr. Kenneth Grundy, and Mr. Charlie Boer.